feel like we get warped into some other realm of space when we go to these breakouts and come back. And there's certainly a great opportunity to hit some of the areas that I know some of us have interest in. And we are really today, I'm Beth Reinhardt, by the way, with the Bristol Chamber here. And we're very pleased to have with us today for our breakout to talk a little bit about the PPP funding opportunities, but just in general, really all the resources that we've seen that are available out there that you may or may not know about, but you want to know more about. And so our guest presenters today, which I have to say a huge thank you to both of you all. I've gotten to know Mark and Cindy with some work we've done with Region Ahead, and you all won't be surprised to know that they're both incredible resources and leaders in this space, among others. And just really pleased to have gotten to know both of you better throughout the process here. And you all are the perfect fit for today. So Mark Bays is director of the Tennessee Small Business Development Center, and Cindy Fields is director of the Virginia Highlands Small Business Development Center. And if you all want to just kick off just a few comments in general about kind of where we are with the PPP or other, and then let folks ask questions because they may want to know really where we are or what they need to do for certain things.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you, Beth. I appreciate the opportunity to be here. And Cindy, if you want to start or however you, I'll let you have the first option here.
Go ahead, Mark. You're talking, so I'll let you go first.
The dangers of opening your mouth first. Well, good afternoon, everyone. It's really a pleasure to be here today. As you all know, this has been a very fluid situation as we've gone through, you know, probably one of the craziest years that any of us has ever experienced before. I can say the processes are moving much better than what they were moving back in November and before that. Now, it seems like the PPP programs have a good foundation. They're moving well. The House just recently passed an extension, so we're still waiting on the Senate and, of course, the President's signature on that. But hopefully that's going to be coming into effect really soon to where we can see that go from the current March 31st deadline to, I believe they proposed it to May 31st. Is that what you were hearing as well, Cindy?
Yes.
And then they're also giving a processing extension so that people won't be rushed to hit that May 31st date. They're expecting to have that extension go to June. So that processing time will go through and there won't be a terrible backlog there. Some of the other things that we've seen is the shuttered venue grant. I know a lot of people are really kind of interested in learning more about that. They have put up a checklist of items to begin preparing for that grant. And I will go ahead and throw that link for you into the chat here as soon as well, I won't do it while I'm speaking now, but I'll throw a link in there for you on that so you all can see that current information and stay active there. But it is going to be a grant. SBA is not known for grant programs. They're a lender. So this is a new system that they had to set up. They are tentatively giving us an early April expectation for this to have applications open. Once they've gotten that set up, the next thing is going to be set up is the restaurant recovery program. And that's where restaurants can get reimbursed for their 2020 losses. And that's something I'm really excited to see. You know, it's one of those that's it's supposed to be a grant program as well. And they're actually going to be using the system that they created in the shuttered venue grant as the system to house the restaurant recovery. So it's gonna come after the shuttered venue grant is set up and tested. Then we're gonna start to see that restaurant recovery. Probably end of April, May is kind of a tentative timeline when we can expect to see that rolling out.
Yeah, those are incredible. And sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt you, Mark.
No,
I just wanted to make sure that if you all would send us the latest information on that. One of our plans following this is to send a package of information and hopefully a link to the recording of this out to all the participants who registered, and to have as much information around everything we've spoken about today to send to them. And I think that in itself is going to be priceless. I know when you all send us things, we send it out in our weekly and try to always catch those when they come available, because we know that that is one of the greatest needs right now in our community. So that would be great to be able to share in that package.
Oh, absolutely. And I just put the link for the Shuttered Venues Grant information there. That is all the most current information straight from the SBA. You'll find that about 300 different groups have become experts in this arena. And about 60 to 70% of the time, they're giving out outdated or wrong information. So make sure you're either looking at the SBA site or the Treasury site with this. Probably one of the most underutilized programs that people need to really take a look at now is the Employer Retention Tax Credit that is going through. They have just recently passed new legislation that allows you to get the PPP loan along with this credit. You just can't have them apply to the same period, but this is a credit that they can obtain quarterly. And so this is something that would be really good for them to be looking at. And knowing that we have a short window here today at 4 o'clock, Andrea Wilcox, who is with my affiliate office, will be doing a webinar. I'll put the link in the chat as well for that, but we're going to be going over all these programs in detail. We also have Bobby Rich from Blackburn Childress in Stegall, who will be discussing some of the information on the forgiveness process, as well as some of the record-keeping practices that people need to be sure that they're doing here. You will definitely want to keep good records on any of these funds that you're utilizing. So I'll put the link in the chat for you all as well, for anybody that's available to join us. But we'll be doing these regularly, as well as we're going to be setting up a webinar specifically on the employer retention credit. And that's where we're going to have Blackburn come in and do some of that information for us. We also have a contract set up with Blackburn to help people with trying to navigate through how to properly get applications in for these programs, as well as some startup assistance, getting some counseling on best practices, book setup, and other areas. Because just as much as we want to take care of the existing businesses that are out there and make sure that they're staying afloat, we've got to make room for new businesses to come in. It's important. We got to keep the stream going because there's a lot of them that are out there that were lost during this. But with that being said, there is part of this legislation that is called an opportunity fund. And they're still working out details on that, but it is going to be specifically targeting businesses that went out of operation during 2020, and hopefully giving funds that will allow them to start up a new initiative because they viewed that a lot of the situation was out of their control, and that they want to give them a fund that's available. And how that fund will look, whether it's a grant or loan, that's still a giant unknown at this point, but at least they're thinking in the right direction. Cynthia, I spoke a lot. I'll let you take over. Beth, please, I just overtalked you.
Well, thank you.
I'll give it to Cindy. Sorry, I was going to give it to you, Cindy.
Thank you again for having this really informative information that's been out today. I've learned a lot, and I appreciate you all putting this together. So on the Virginia side, I'll just echo, what Mark said. Right now, we're working really. In the last couple of weeks, what we've seen is most businesses that were going to apply for the PPP, the PPP2 have done so. We've worked more so with individuals, sole proprietors, those who are filing either a Schedule C or a Schedule F. But one thing that I really wanted to talk about is following on with the restaurant recovery and the shuttered venue grant. I know that on the Virginia side, we have actually trained yesterday, and then we'll be training again today on those two programs. And we are also offering continuous training on all these programs. So I would look that in the next couple of weeks, we will be offering training opportunities throughout my localities on these two programs. Also, the other thing that I wanted to bring to everybody's attention, through the CARES funding, the SBDCs across the United States have been able to attain some additional funding that we've been able to utilize in employing subject matter experts that we can use for small businesses. So the Virginia Highlands SBDC is getting ready to roll out a 6-week financial literacy and marketing cohort program, which will start next Tuesday. And so we will be offering that once a week, and you can participate either in the live setting or through a recording. We think that will reach more businesses. But one thing that we're doing really is working with businesses to assess where they are in those two areas. Those are the two areas that we've really identified were weaknesses for businesses. We see that those businesses who have thrived during this period of time were people who had a strong website and social media presence, those who've been able to do business through e-commerce. And so what we're trying to do is look at those businesses that have weaknesses in those areas, and then we are working with them either with staff that we have in our office or through subject matter experts who can help them with those specific areas. So we have some funding to help businesses in some of those areas. I think it's going to be a great resource. We will do the initial 6-week program, and then we will tag onto that with some other specific courses. So there is still time for businesses to register in that if they're interested. If you know a business that's struggling in those areas, certainly send them to us. And I know that Mark has a lot of those resources available on the Tennessee side as well. I would just encourage you to encourage businesses to stay in touch with the SBDCs, because we are continually putting out the latest information. You know, what we've seen during this year is that things have changed daily. And so it's been really important to stay in touch with somebody who's getting that information. I know that both on the Tennessee and the Virginia side, we have people within our state offices that are connected to Capitol Hill and are funneling that information to us, generally hourly. So, but again, we thank you for the opportunity and are happy to help our businesses grow, and not just sustain, but grow beyond this pandemic. Thank you.
Well, thank you both. I'm going to let folks that have questions ask, but I'm just going to throw in personal experience here at the Chamber, gaining more empathy for a lot of the businesses who are trying to access resources. Having gone through that firsthand, you know, we were getting information from you all, we were pushing it out, we were getting it from our state chambers and pushing it out. And we went through the SBA loan process at first because 501c6s didn't qualify for the PPP initially. So we got the SBA loan, we tucked it away as an insurance policy because it was such a great interest rate, thinking we don't know if this will be a year or if it will go further. And so we held on to it to have it as an insurance policy, and hoping that we would get a PPP, which we did in the meantime. And I will say the challenge to make sure that you do things right, that you're providing the right information, that you're signing off on things that you can validate, was very, it was a little intimidating, I will say, and that's even feeling like we have all the information that we need. And then yesterday, we actually paid back our SBA loan, and it took us 4 hours talking to people and waiting on to figure out how to pay it off so that we knew exactly what our interest was to the date. And it took us 4 hours on phone calls to realize that the first person we talked to could have done what we needed. And we went through all these rabbit holes. So I only say that knowing that it is very challenging for businesses. So to have your all's resources, your all's hand holding to do things, I don't know that people even really grasp the value of that. So I could personally say y'all are awesome, and what you all are doing for our business community is unbelievable.
Well, thank you. I will say that, you know, in our office, I don't know about Mark, but we've dealt with a lot of clients, not only on the application side and trying to assist them with that piece, but really on the side that, you know, maybe they were denied. We worked a lot with Rebuild on the denial process, and it actually helped quite a few who were able to appeal that decision and get that reversed. So, you know, it's been really full circle on this program. You know, we do have individuals that we work with directly through SBA. So I think those individuals that have dealt with their offices and said, we're having an issue and we don't know what to do here, we can't get any response. It's been quicker for them because we have those personal relationships with individuals at SBA who will answer us, you know, and then in turn we can help the client solve that problem. So we've really worked on this from a lot of different angles.
Yeah,
We appreciate that.
I agree with Cindy on that. A lot of the activity that we've done has been helping people try to get answers on where they are with their application, what's going on there, why we've been denied. And some things just as simple as they put the wrong bank account number, or they didn't include a driver's license photo, or some things like that, didn't fill out the right form. And the communication getting back to them wasn't making them aware of the lacking information. So we definitely were able to get answers for people that they weren't able to get through the calling into the 800 numbers where they would spend hours on the line. To me, that's cruel and unusual punishment.
Agreed. We have some folks on here. I don't know if anyone has questions for Cindy or Mark or in general.
Yeah, you guys have kind of moved in this direction. Drew Rutherford. I also work with small business owners every day, and I'm just curious, are there things that you run into that are frequently they're asking you the same questions, you hear the same thing over and over again, other than what you just mentioned?
Well, I think that, you know, I get a lot of questions when new bills are advertised, but they haven't, you know, run through that entire process. So we get a lot of questions about, you know, how to apply and what's the eligibility, and just a lot of questions related to those things. We are seeing, you know, beginning to see a lot of questions about how to handle things on the tax side. And so, you know, from all the CPAs that we deal with, you know, I think that they are all pushing things out as far as they can. I think we'll see a lot of extensions this year, particularly because, you know, there's been so much change on how all of these funds are going to be treated. I know on the Virginia side, up until a couple of weeks ago, Virginia really wasn't adopting what the IRS had said on the federal side of how the funds were going to be treated in terms of taxation. So a lot of those kinds of questions, you know, we're trying to address those as they come in and develop some training resources to go along with that. It sounds like Mark is doing the same thing.
Yeah, and you know, just to build off what Cindy said there, you know, we've been seeing a lot of activity for startups. There's been a lot of new people moving into the area. They've gone from these harder hit locations out west and up north. You know, there's a lot of people coming to our area. We've got a very attractive location here. And so we've been seeing a lot of people that are just saying, hey, I want to reopen my business or move my business here. You know, what do we need to do? And so just helping them navigate through that has been a lot of our activity. We've also had a lot of activity here locally for people wanting to do startups. You know, one of the gaps, though, is for people that started new businesses last year, you know, especially after the February and March dates where the funding was set as a required date to have been in business before. There's still a lot of businesses there that started during this that are struggling, and there's not really many programs out there that can benefit them. I'm hoping that might be addressed in the opportunity program they're working on, but that's just speculation at this point. And, you know, I think that leads to more of what Cindy was saying there in the beginning of people questioning things and hearing things, thinking that it's already came to be.
Mm-hmm. And I think, you know,